Craig, you go. Are you going to push your car around?
Staying on my couch.
You're getting your jug workout, right?
Yeah, so I bought some emergency water because my mom was like, you need all the things for the quarantine.
Marlee, you can't see it, but Craig just took a big old swig of his Popeyes, so, there's that. Welcome to the WCIA 3-in-1 podcast. We are best practicing our social distancing here. Say hi, Craig. Say hi, Marlee.
Hey.
For those of you just listening and not watching here, I am in the studio. Bret Beherns here. And Craig Choate is at his apartment. Marlee Wierda is at her apartment. But we wanted to bring him in here because we're a visual element. So we've got our bobblehead boxes. Craig, I stole these from you, and you aren't aware of this yet, but I stole 2 bobblehead boxes that were under Craig's desk. They're full of dust. I've got 2 picture frames that have pictures of my kids and my family in them. And then we mounted 2 phones on here, on those frames, that they're FaceTiming in. We're doing our part. It's what we can do. Craig's been working from home a couple of days a week while he's not anchoring on the weekends. Marlee's been home for 3 straight weeks now as of today. Marlee, quick check. How you doing? Have you been outside? Have you talked to anybody else in person in 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I have been outside. The weather's been great lately, so I've been going on my old man walks every now and then. And then I see a couple of my friends every now and then, but with caution and all that, and avoiding big groups. So that's kind of the gist here.
Craig, how's your social distancing working from home a couple of days a week going for you?
Good. Going outside, going on walks. Other than that, I'm on the couch when I'm not working, on the couch playing video games.
It's a good life if you can get it, right? Absolutely. All right. Well, we wanted to get back on the 3-in-1 podcast here. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been on. Last week, it was just kind of crazy as we're all trying to figure out this new norm here of what life is about in the unforeseen future. We don't know how long this is going to go on. And so we've been working really hard here at WCIA 3 to keep our content up, to continue telling good feature stories, and that's kind of been our bread and butter here. But there has been some news, and just within the last hour here or so, Illinois announces that women's basketball coach Nancy Fahey gets a 2-year extension, and this comes maybe a little bit of a surprise to some people because she has not fared very well, at least on the court success. 30-61 overall in 3 years, 4-48 in the Big Ten. So Craig, Marlee, let's get your initial reactions. Craig, you go first.
Yeah, it's kind of not a whatever move, but at the same time, it kind of is. I mean, what's the better option here? I don't think they wanted her contract to run out to where you have to make that decision when she's technically without a contract. That doesn't help recruiting. So I think this is a recruiting move to show recruits that she's going to be here and she's going to be the head coach for the next 4 or 5 years, whatever the extension was. But yeah, she's had some trouble. But if you want improvement, she has improved the win total. Yes, it's by 1 every year, but she has improved the win total, so if she can start getting some players in, maybe they can turn this thing around.
Yeah, and I think – go ahead, Marlee.
Yeah, I agree with Craig in the sense that I think it's good as far as establishing a little bit of consistency for the program, because I'm really not a fan of – programs or schools that after 3 bad seasons, they give the coach the boot. And it's hard to build a program that way. And I think consistency is really important. And like Craig said, just a big move as far as recruiting, because she wants, if in the next couple of years, it'll be all of her recruits that are coming into the school versus when she was coming in to take over a program. So I think a coach, if they're going to be here a long time, they need at least a couple of years to kind of build the program. So, and then she's also bringing on Scott Merritt as a new assistant or associate coach. So I think that's also a change that could be for the better for the team.
I 100% agree with both of you in that, and I think this is a move from Josh Whitman just to provide some stability for the long term. And look, it's going to take a long time to get this turned around. Historically, Illinois women's basketball has not been good in several decades. Their last winning season was 2013. The last time they played in the NCAA tournament was 2003. So we're not dealing with a lot of high expectations here. But I do think that it's going to take some time. And just from 3 seasons alone, in a tough Big Ten, I'm not sure that's good enough to fully evaluate a program that really has been struggling for an extended period of time. So it's way different in my eyes than football or men's basketball. You're two, cows of what you're doing. You're money makers there. And so it's not that I don't think Josh Whitman cares. I just think that he realizes this was a long-term investment in Nancy Fahey. It's going to take a lot longer. And for me, it's all about recruiting. And Marlee, you can speak to this as a former college athlete. Craig and I are still sitting here, just looking to you for college athlete things because we never were. But as a college athlete, I mean, you want to know that your coach is going to be there, right? You sign up for a coach in large part for a program, right? I mean, isn't that huge into that? I mean, if you're going out and trying to sell something and your coach is not going to be there, to me, that's a huge black eye of your ability to go sell a program.
Yeah, 100%. I actually had an interesting experience playing college volleyball because we had a coaching change after my sophomore year, and that kind of disrupted the program a little bit. I think it ended up being for the better, but it was a big learning curve that we just kind of had to go through with players leaving. They didn't feel like this new coach was the right fit for them, and yeah, it was just kind of like things burst into flames for a little bit, and that learning curve was just kind of tough to go through. So yeah, I think when I had initially committed, I was expecting to have the same coach all 4 years, but things happen, and I think we made a good job of adjusting to it, and I think other programs can do the same, but that again, it's kind of tough when you don't expect it and things like that happen.
Craig, how much of this is just women's basketball draws 1,000 a night, if that? Josh Whitman has a lot of other priorities. If he can lock up Nancy Fahey for whatever that cost may be, and it's through 24-25 season, which seems like a long time from now, but she's going to be here for the next 5 years in a sense. Is that just him saying, look, I know this is going to take time, it's not a huge priority to me, or how do you kind of analyze what this move means from Josh Whitman's standpoint?
Yeah, if that's not the main reason, then it's up there. I don't want to put any words in Josh's mouth, but I think it's a program that he kind of just wants to have her in place and kind of not care about. Not necessarily put it on the back burner, but it's not the program that's on the top of his priority list. And Nancy Fahey and Josh Whitman have a past relationship. They were both at WashU together, so she's coached under him before, and they trust each other. They have a good relationship. Nancy Fahey had proved everything she could at Division III. Multiple-time national champion, 5 seasons, I think. She's a Hall of Fame coach. I could see why she came here. She wanted to try her hand at the top level in Division I, and she's going to take some lumps. And if she doesn't get it turned around, okay, she can fall back on that WashU career that is incredible. That resume is amazing. So I think Josh just wants to have her in place and kind of be like, all right, I trust Nancy. We're good there. I can put my resources and all my focus, most of my focus, in other programs.
I 100% agree with that, and it's not that he doesn't care, right? I think it's just that he trusts Nancy. He's investing. He's putting more stock into the fact that this was a long-term project to begin with, and that he trusts her. There's no one else that he's going to trust more than her. That's kind of how I viewed this whole thing, even from the start when he hired Nancy Fahey, and we were kind of like, is this going to work at a D3 to D1? And it was nothing to do with basketball, and I love Nancy to begin with. She's great to us in the media. I think she's a fantastic basketball coach. But for me, it's all about recruiting. Can she recruit? She's got to go recruit more size in the front court. She's got to continue to go out and get players that can win in the Big Ten. It really is no different than the men's side, but, you just got to get talent, and that's where we've seen Illinois basketball on the men's side really take off. You get a couple of coaches that can come in and attract talent. See also Orlando Antigua, and here Illinois is with a bounce-back 21-10 season. All right, let's start diving into that men's basketball side a little bit. 2 transfers, one absolutely shocked everybody, one did not. Alan Griffin announces It would have been last Monday that he is leaving the program. And then Tevian Jones a day later says, hey, I'm out as well. I feel like this was very expected from Tevian. How shocked were you guys that Allen decided to pack up and go somewhere else? Marlee, go first.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. I was shocked. I think, we just started to see the rise of his career at Illinois. His freshman year, kind of had some flashes here and there. And then, this year was just spectacular for him. And he showed a lot of potential for where he could have possibly gone with this program. Next year he maybe, could have been competing for one of those starting spots. But even, when we would talk to him about that, do you want to start? You're, producing this much off the bench. But, to him he always expressed it as, it doesn't matter if I'm, in the starting lineup or not. I'm playing, I'm contributing. It doesn't matter to me. But if it, comes down to wanting to start or whatever it may be, I feel like that's what a lot of the internet is saying, and Twitter is he left because he probably wasn't going to start or something along those lines. I just, I don't know. Yeah, I was shocked, and I think, it could have been a really good career here for him regardless. So.
Craig, do you think that had anything to do with starting? Because, look, I thought he had a really, really good chance to start next year. If I was pinning a starting lineup next year, I'd have him in it in some form or fashion. There's personal reasons, right? Everyone's entitled to those. It sounds like it was a personal issue. Look, we don't know. I'm not going to try and speculate about why he's leaving. But it at least on the court, never made sense to me why he would leave right now and potentially have to sit out. That's the other thing, too. Is he willing to sit out for a year if this transfer waiver doesn't go through? And right now, we don't know that.
As far as where I'm seeing this, I feel like it's a more personal thing. When I was out at Penn State after the game and after the win, a lot of his family was both at Rutgers and Penn State, and his family tried to get down into the tunnel under the exit by the Illinois locker room, and they weren't allowed in. And Allen was right there, hey, they're with me, they can come in here. And the security was like, no one is allowed out here. And he got pretty upset. So he's close with his family. And his sister plays at UConn. His brother is going to play at Duke next year. So I think he just wanted to be we'll see where he goes. Now, if he doesn't go to the East Coast, then this theory is completely wrong. But I think he just wanted to be a little bit closer. As far as the starting next year, it would be between him and are you going to take DeMonte out? Because I think Curbelo is going to come in and start. Trent's going to start. Kofi's going to start if he's back. I mean, maybe Georgie is out as well, but then you'd have to start Griffin at the 4. So maybe that starting spot wasn't as guaranteed as it first seemed to be. But my big thing is, what was Illinois' weakness this year? It was behind the arc. Who was their best player behind the arc? It was Allen Griffin. And even Tevian Jones, that's what one of the things he was known for was a shooter. He didn't generally show it, but he didn't have an opportunity this year. So I think that's where it's going to hurt the most. Not that he was a potential starter. It was that he was a guy that consistently hit the 3, and they're not going to have that now next year. But I'm with you guys. I was completely stunned. I didn't think it was going to happen. But like Brad said in the teleconference, they got some guys that they're leaning on that they can come in and produce.
And Brad said all along he doesn't care who starts. But let's be honest, the kids care, right? I mean, you can't tell me that the kids don't care that they're in the starting lineup or not, because we're all human. I think that's important. You want to see in the box score that you got that little asterisk next to your name, that you were a starter. You want to say I'm a starter on the basketball team. Not everyone's an Andres Feliz, and I'm not trying to call out Allen here for a bad attitude or anything, but like Andres just got it, right? I honestly believe he didn't care if he was in the starting lineup or not. But not everyone's cut from that same cloth. And so, look, for some kids that matters. Maybe it mattered to Allen. I don't know. The big question now, like you mentioned, Craig, and this is just so important for Illinois, you just lost your best three-point shooter, 41% from the field this year. How are you going to replace that? And even if you go on the grad transfer route, that's probably a mid-major guy. And you have 2 transfers right now that are not D1 proven players, in a sense, right? So, high major D1, I should say. The other one's D3. So you're taking a gamble on that either way. Who's going to make all the threes next year?
Who you have?
Craig, go.
come in and contribute from behind the arc. And a sleeper, DeMonte, I mean, the last month of the year, did he miss a three-pointer? I mean, he shot the ball really well, so he can come in. Trent has to get back to the way he was. So those are the three off the top of my head that come to mind that could potentially step in. Now, are they going to shoot as well as Allen did? Probably not. I think he was 41%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 41%. I don't know if anyone's going to hit that, but those are three guys that I think are capable of doing it. Two of the three, and Miller and Frazier, need to do it. But DeMonte, if he can, that's a plus.
Right, but you're putting a lot of pressure on guys that are, other than Trent. We've seen it from Trent. He actually led the team in threes made this year. But Allen had a better percentage, which I'll take the percentage over the made threes all day long because Trent was at like 30% this year. High efficiency shooter, but didn't make a lot of them in a sense, for as many attempts as he took. So my point in all of it is you're just relying on a lot of unproven guys there to make the three. And it's still early. Look, it's April. I get it. There's a lot of moves that can be made between now and, when we get back to school. Hopefully we get back to school, right? At this point, who knows? But is it fair, Marlee, in your eyes, that Illinois fans are questioning this a little bit in terms of the three-point shot?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going off, just Trent Frazier and what Craig said, I remember when I first got here in Champaign, I remember, because I kind of came to Champaign and I didn't really know a ton about the basketball team or the program or just the history of it, and I was impressed with Trent Frazier because I was like, oh wow, he was pinned to me as the three-point shooter of the team, and I think this year he totally just I don't know, I didn't see as much of it as maybe I had saw his sophomore year. So and I know this year it was kind of a little bit more of him trying to find his way defensively, but he'll definitely be somebody that needs to step up next year, and it's his final season, and maybe he'll be that guy for the Illini again. But certainly concerning. I can't imagine what Brad Underwood is thinking about all this. I know he spoke to the media recently just about this situation, but he seemed to be just kind of in good spirits and feeling like he was going to be able to handle it, and whatever it may be, what he needs to do to get this program back on track, I guess.
And he's in good spirits because there's going to be 1,000+ guys in the portal, and he's going to have his pick essentially of who he wants. And he said he can be selective, and in a way I agree with that, and in another way I have my reservations about that. Because look, when you're getting transfers, they want usually, especially on the grad transfer market, they want to have a star role. They want the opportunity to shine. And if they're coming in and all they're playing is a role, you really have a select amount of guys that are willing to do that in my eyes. And so, look, there's a ton of guys out there. There's a ton of time between now and then. I think it's interesting, though, Craig, that they were targeting a guard way before Allen said that he was transferring, which just tells me that they knew that he was going to leave. Do they get two transfers? Will they pick up a guard and a 4? To me, the 4 seems more important at this point than a 2 guard.
I think a lot depends on Brandon Weston, because there's talk that he could reclassify to this class, and if they get a commit and he comes in this class, then they only can take one because they only have 2 open scholarships. Now that's assuming Io leaves the whole scholarship situation. So there's just a lot of dominoes here that we don't know how they're going to fall yet. But I think if you have open scholarships this late, unless it's a Brandon Weston type reclassified to this class, I think you take the Glenn transfer because that scholarship opens back up after 1 year, and it doesn't. It's not a burden. I don't think that's the right word, but it's not another player taken away from next year's scholarship. If I'm making sense.
Yeah, but we really haven't seen Brad Underwood use many grad transfers. And that's the other thing that's been interesting to me is last year he took the sit-out transfer route with Austin Hutcherson and Jacob Grandison. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Is he going to try something new at this point? They definitely went after the grad transfers last year. TJ Holyfield I thought would have been perfect for this team this year and probably would have made them, a legit Big Ten title contender the whole year. I don't know. I think there's just a lot of questions right now about what approach they're going to take. And I'm wondering if they're even fully for sure because, like you mentioned, look, so much of this hinges on what Ayo DeSumo does. And the longer this COVID-19 pandemic goes on, the more it just muddies the water for me. And it certainly has to for Ayo about his decision. Marlee, how much are you thinking now that it's possible we could see Ayo back next year?
Yeah, and it's so hard to say because everything about this whole situation is that it's unknown. You know, everybody that I've talked to, all the coaches, the players, everyone that I've interviewed these past couple of weeks is everyone just doesn't know how to handle anything because we don't know how long this situation is going to be for and what's going to result because of it. And I can see it really going either way. You know, if he decides to declare for the NBA draft, great. But at the same time, you know, with the possibility of just postponements and him not being able to compete at the combine, he didn't get a chance to go to the NCAA tournament and show what he was able to do at that level. So I think that kind of, you know, hinders whatever chance, like, not that he was not a draft pick to begin with, but he probably could have improved his stock certainly if he had some of these opportunities that now kind of dissipated as a result of this coronavirus thing.
Craig, I was 100% on board. Like, there was no chance I was coming back 3 weeks ago. You know, even with all this, whatever happens, I thought Ayo was gone. And good for him. Go make some money, dude. Go be on an NBA roster, play in the G League, whatever you got to do. Go get that guaranteed money. Now, 3 weeks later, man, I'm starting to think, Craig, there's a real chance that he is strongly considering coming back, and we may see him as a junior in Champaign.
I think it's whatever he values more. If he wants to be a pro, he has earned every right to go be a pro. But he came here wanting to get to the NCAA tournament. He didn't do that. Illinois did not make the NCAA tournament. They would have, but they did not. So if he thinks that he's done everything he can here and he wants to go start his pro career with those unknowns, look, he would get his chance. Someone would take a chance. He would not go undrafted. It might be in the second round, late second round because of the unknowns, but I think he played his way into a late first, early second round pick. Had there been a tournament, I don't think he would have disappointed anybody. So I think someone will give him a chance in the NBA. So at this point, it's just a matter of what he values more. Does he want to start his pro career, or does he want to come back to Illinois and take them to the NCAA tournament next year? Because if he comes back, and if Adam Miller signs, this team could win the Big Ten next year. It could be a top 4, top 3, 2 seed in the NCAA tournament if Ayo comes back. If he does that, he will be remembered as one of the greatest Illinois basketball players to ever come through here. So it's just a matter of what he values at this point.
And I don't just go ahead, Marlee.
In the sense that, you know, if you have the chance, if it was me, I mean, obviously I'm not in his shoes, but I think I would probably, you know, declare for the draft just because you never know what can happen. If you have the chance to go and make $1 million playing the sport that you love, hands down you should do it. And, you know, you never know. He could next year, you know, get injured or whatever it may be, and that could hurt his chances. So if he has the chance now and he has a good chance, maybe he should do it. And I think, too, the small injury that he had this season against Michigan State, where it looked like he went down and almost like tore his ACL. I don't know how he was fine after that because it looked like a seriously gruesome injury. But I think maybe that kind of put things in perspective for him too, in a sense that, okay, you never know when your career can be over. So if you have the chance, you know, maybe you should go. And this whole coronavirus thing too, like their season was cut short, so maybe that might be an extra push for him to move on. But I think it would be great if he did come back, because that would make it a lot of fun for us just to watch the team and all that.
Yeah, and I'm on board with you 100% with that. That's why I thought there was no way he was coming back, because look, even if you can get drafted, a lot of these second round picks now are guaranteed money at least for a year or two. And so look, you should go do that. I think even Brad Underwood would tell him, look, if you can get guaranteed money, go. the complicated part is if you can't get evaluated here, and if the draft is in August, let's say, how tough does that make it on the Illinois staff and what they're trying to do? You're saving scholarships. I don't know. There's just a lot to this that makes it really, really tough for Io, for his family, for Illinois, and then the fans obviously are just wanting to know. And look, we're going to know by the end of the month. I think the draft commit, or to say you're going out for the draft, even if you intend to keep your options open, is April 25th or 26th. And so if that doesn't change, we're going to know by the end of this month whether he's going to declare or not, and I expect him to. And then by June, if the draft doesn't change, mid-June, he's going to have to decide if he's staying in the draft or not. Craig, you had a couple names that you thought transfer-wise, and look, Illinois has been interested in a ton. That doesn't surprise me. They're going to send feelers out all over the place. But you had a couple names that kind of intrigued you about guys that could come in and potentially be transfers.
Yeah, the biggest names with the most buzz right now, a couple guys from Chicago or have Chicago ties. A guy from Ryder, his name's Fred Scott. These are both stretch 4 guys, and then a guy from Western Michigan, Brandon Johnson, are the 2 names that on the grad transfer that a lot of people seem to be linking Illinois to. Now, look, there are tweets all the time going out that so-and-so grad transfer has heard from these schools, and I feel like I see Illinois on that list more than I don't see Illinois on the list. So they're sending out a lot of feelers. Also, I thought it was interesting. I know we're talking grad transfers, but DJ Carton to Illinois has seemed to – those 2 names have seemed to paired up quite a bit, which intrigues me because he's a point guard, and they've got a lot of point guards on their roster. So seeing his name and Illinois linked up was my feelers went like, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, that would be something because he is a – big-time recruit, top 20 recruit in the country, if I remember right, from last season. Went to Ohio State, had some mental health issues, decided to leave the program. Sounded like he was going to go back to Columbus, but then announces he's transferring. I think that might muddy up some of the waters, too, between Adam Miller, and there's just a whole bunch of guards in there. If he didn't have to sit out, I think that would really make it complicated. If he did have to sit out, then Trent Frazier leaves, and maybe it's not quite as murky with that. The other name out there, too, guys, Khalil Whitney. Craig, have you heard? Marlee, I don't know. I haven't seen anything if he's going pro or not. My last thing I saw was that he was still thinking about staying in college. Man, that would be a heck of a get, too, for the Illini.
Last I heard on that was, I think, one of our buddies over at 93.5 ESPN interviewed Nick Irvin, who is the Mac Irvin Fire head coach, and he didn't know what Khalil was going to do, but he said that whatever he did, this come from Nick Irvin, whatever decision he made, he would be ready for. Is the talent in NBA ready for Khalil right now? I don't know. He didn't really get to show it off at Kentucky. Didn't really get an opportunity, but the potential, I think, is definitely there. He's another guy that I think NBA teams would love to get on the roster just to see what he could bring, because he was a top 10 recruit, I think. So the talent's definitely there. It's just a matter of what he wants to do.
I remember watching him on the EYBL circuit a couple of years ago, and you're just like, my gosh, this guy is unbelievable. But, we'll see. It certainly didn't surprise anyone that he went to Kentucky out of that. All right. Well, it always seems to talk about hoops here, and that's just the way Illinois fans want it. Your overall impressions, though, Marlee, of just where we're going, where we've been the last 3 weeks. It seems like it's been a month. It's really only been 3 weeks of this coronavirus, but I think we're all inside a lot. We're all trying to figure out how to get a new normal in our lives, and I think time just slows down a lot of the time. What's your sense, though? Are fall sports going to be affected by this? I know there's a lot of unknowns, but, the further we go along here, Marlee, the more I start to think this is going to be longer than just June, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that we're not even over the curve yet. We haven't even hit the peak, and it's been a couple weeks at this point, and I feel like every day it just keeps things keep progressing worse and worse and worse. I actually have friends over in Europe, and I've been talking to them, and they're kind of a couple weeks ahead of where we are, and they say that everything is still the same with the shutdown shutdowns and everything. And I think, there's a very strong possibility that fall sports get postponed just because everything at this point has been so far pushed back that it seems like, when fall rolls around, people are going to need time to plan. I mean, I can't imagine like all of the logistics that go into, a football game and staffing it and getting ready and just taking care of all those different things. And with maybe a shortened amount of time that they might get, definitely a possibility that, fall sports, I think fall sports will still happen. I think there's a very big possibility that they are postponed. Also think that there might be a possibility of just playing without fans, like kind of how we saw initially with the NCAA tournament not allowing fans, and the Big Ten tournament not allowing fans, maybe something on that end. But I mean, for the sake of the sports department and us, I really hope that everything goes as planned.
Everything trickles down from the top, right, Craig? So we had the NBA on that Wednesday announcing that they were postponing their season, and then it all just goes down from there. The Olympics postpone a year, and that really, I think, set the bar for everyone else into August, right? Because the Olympics are at the end of July into August.
Yeah.
Craig, do you feel like that these fall sports are going to be postponed? And if they are going to have a change, like, these athletic departments simply can't afford not to have football. I mean, what might that look like?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, unless something changes, I don't see fall sports starting on time. Because we're already shut down here through April. I just don't see it. I mean, training camp for Illinois football starts July, late July.
Yeah, usually it's like July 31st, August 1st, 2nd, somewhere around in there. The last couple of years, that's been the start date.
Yeah, so for us to hit that, you would have to think that, I mean, we have to be certain in this country that this thing is either gone or under control enough by that point, and that is 4 months, 3 months away. I just don't see it. I think these fall sports are probably not going to start on time. NBA, I thought was interesting. Yesterday or earlier, March 31st, I'm looking at a tweet from SportsCenter saying that the NBA is talking about having their entire postseason in Las Vegas, just the teams, and that would be in June, late June. So I just don't see it ending anytime soon, and it has to be so safe for us to get back to normal. I don't see it starting anything in the fall starting on time.
And I'm right there with both of you. I think this is going to be a huge implication on 2020 and the entire sports calendar, not just March Madness being canceled. The NBA has said mid-June. I think it was June 15th, the earliest that they're going to get back. And so, if the top-level pro sports aren't getting back until then, this is why I've said all along with the high school stuff, I just can't see how high schools are going back to school, number one, and how the IHSA is saying that they're still optimistic about a spring sport happening, because at this point, the Olympics are canceled. So you're telling me that they're going to run the high school kids out there? Look, I understand it's a different scale. There's different planning that goes into it that's not near the stage of the Olympics. But for me, I just think this has so many bigger implications on the sports world than just through April 30th when our quarantine is scheduled to end for now. I mean, how do you guys feel about the high school season?
I'm not optimistic at all. I think, everything has been, because we were supposed to be, whatever they said, like, okay, until April 7th is like this mandatory self-quarantine, social distancing, and now it's still the end of the month. Then it's gonna keep going and going and going, and I don't see high schoolers going even back to school and then playing sports for that matter. I think everything, like you said, Brett, follows suit of kind of the bigger professional sports and the Olympics, and it would just be, not that it would kind of look bad by the IHSA if they're like, okay, the Olympics are canceled, but here, let's have the, state track and field meet. And I think, it's really sad for a lot of the high school athletes, and I know many of them are staying optimistic. Maybe there might be the small chance that they can, play like their club sports in the summer, but as far as their, regular high school season, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, and Craig, I commend IHSA Executive Director Craig Anderson for trying to be positive here, but at some point, it's just false hope. That's how I view it.
Totally. It's completely false hope. There's no way that any sports can take place in the next 2 months, would it be, for the high school calendar? I think baseball and softball state's the first week of June, I think, for 3A, 4A. I don't see it. Anyway, I understand why the IHSA is doing it, and I kind of agree with it. Just keep postponing until you have to cancel. But they're delaying the inevitable. I know they want to give these guys, these players, these boys and girls, a sense of hope, but I just don't see it, and I feel so bad because college, like the NCAA, it can grant you another year of eligibility to finish out your career if you want it. That's not going to happen with these high schoolers. I know, Brett, you talked to Bailey Dowling. She's 11 home runs away from the national record, and she's not going to get a chance to break that, which she definitely would have broken it had they played. So I feel so bad for her among many, many other high schoolers that I just don't think their senior seasons or the 2020 season is going to happen.
And for me, it all comes down to the governor just saying, hey, you're not going back to school the rest of the year. Whenever that happens, it's probably going to be a couple of weeks before I would expect J.B. Pritzker to come out and say that school's canceled for the rest of the year. But I completely expect a quick shutdown of IHSA 10 minutes after the governor announces that.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
All right, what else we got here, guys? It's kind of been a crazy time. We talked at the start of this 3-in-1 podcast about how you guys are dealing with it. We haven't seen each other. We all haven't been in the sports office for 3 weeks now together. I'm going to remember that Friday for a long time when I told Marlee, hey, you got to leave. See ya. I don't know when I'm going to see you next. I just keep going back to this, and it almost doesn't seem real in a sense, because by the grace of God, I'm healthy. My family's healthy. Craig and Marlee are both healthy guys. I mean, I hope your families are too, but it's almost like it hasn't hit home yet in a sense, other than the sports world. And for me, sports are such a huge part of my life. It's just been so weird to not have this. Turn on the TV and there's golf on Sunday. For me, that's a huge thing on Sundays. You're outside with the kids. I got the TV on in the garage. Maybe you're grilling, whatever else. Golf is going to be on. The Masters not being on next weekend. I mean, that's really going to hit home for me. What are the events for you guys that are going to, say like, hey, this is for real, Craig?
I guess it would have already started. I just loved the fact that there was a baseball game on every day of the week. Particularly the Cardinals, I could turn on any day of the week unless it was an off day. I could turn on a Major League Baseball game, and on the Cardinals off days, I would turn on a different baseball game. And I can't do that. They're showing all of these old games, but it's just not the same because you know what's going to happen. It's not the same as a live sporting event for me. But other than that, other than not having live sports, my day-to-day is pretty much the same. I've been grilling and going outside and going on walks, and other than not being able to watch live sports, nothing for me has really been that much different.
Yeah. I think too, just these past couple of weeks have been not because they've been hectic in a way because we're all just trying to adjust and figure out and troubleshoot and just try and get this new normal together that I've almost just kind of forgotten about it because I've still been busy and doing things. But then the other day I was looking on Snapchat, and one of the sometimes it'll pop up with a little memory oh, this is what happened in March. I was like, oh, I was at a basketball game. I don't know. I kind of got a little depressed. I was like, this, what I don't know what I'll do if the fall, if they cancel fall sports, that would, or if they postpone them very, very far into fall or winter that. I don't know. It's a crazy time, and I think for me too is like not being able to actually like play sports, because I play a lot of volleyball, and I was in like a rec league, and then just not even being able to do that. Like if I couldn't watch sports, fine, but if I can play them, like okay, at least I have that. But just not even being able to do that is kind of crazy.
Crazy times for sure, but we're surviving. We're trying to figure out a new way, and we're all healthy, and I think that's the biggest thing. And I hope everyone listening is healthy as well, and your family is doing well, and we'll get through this eventually. It's just the unknowns. And the other thing for me, guys, is that it stopped so quick. It wasn't something where we had time to plan for or anything else. In a sense, we knew this was going on around the world, but from the sports aspect, which is a huge part of our lives, we work in sports for a living. It was just hey, this is it. It's over. That Thursday, NCAA tournament, done. Rest of the spring sports, done. That's it. And it's all started to kind of take effect here the last 3 weeks from that. All right, anything else you guys want to add?
We want to talk about Jamall Walker?
Yeah, we could talk about Jamall a little bit in that as well. And look, it didn't surprise me. I like Jamall. I think he's been great to us in the media. He's been really good to me in the last 7 years I've been here. I guess it'd be 7 seasons I've covered the team, and I'm happy for him. I think that's the biggest thing I take away from it is he goes to the desert in Grand Canyon, and he put in some good time here. I thought he got a little unfortunate in a sense because he did get some good commits. He got some good signees in that sense too, and those were his guys. I mean, Mark Smith was his guy, and it didn't work out, but he still got him here, Jeremiah Tillman was his guy. He recruited Jeremiah Tillman in 8th grade, and Tillman signed here, and you got to give credit to Jamall for that. Now, it didn't end up working out. He didn't come on campus, but he still signed, and I think there's a lot that goes into that. Malcolm Hill, another one of those guys that Jamall was right there for.
Yeah, my thoughts on Jamall didn't change, but my respect for him went up when Gross was fired and Jamall took over the team and coached them through that NIT. Man, I was impressed with the way he handled everything about that situation. He got him a couple wins, post-game press conferences where he was really well-spoken, and I thought, all right, this guy's going to be a head coach someday. And to keep him on staff, I think, was the right decision. And I loved it. Jamall's been great to us, like Bret said. The thing I'm going to miss the most is his little boy Braylon in the crowd playing his little trombone. We always get shots of Braylon in the crowd. If you ever watch our highlights of Braylon playing a little trombone with the Illini Pep Band, and Braylon always puts a smile on everyone's face. So a good spot for Jamall and his family. I was out there at Grand Canyon back in November for the game. The best college basketball environment I have ever been in, probably ever will be in. So a good spot for him under a good coach and a good university that's got some clout now after a successful couple seasons.
I like that word, clout. Yeah, I think everybody people make decisions on what's the best for them personally in their career, and I think that was just a good move for in the sense he kind of got demoted in a way this past season. So, on to the next step. No hard feelings. We'll miss ya. We'll miss Braylon. Especially, Craig, when you said that, I got a little sad. I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to in the crowd anymore.
And that was the other thing, too, that stuck out to me. Jamall did more than just coach basketball here with the epilepsy awareness, his son dealing with that and trying to carry on and do his best to give back to the community and support his son with that. I thought was really telling of who Jamall is on and off the court. All right, we've been going a while here, guys, but here's the thing. We get 3 minutes a night. We don't have much time to talk during the sportscast, and especially now as we've been doing some more of these longer format stories, which I love. I'm absolutely a huge fan of getting to showcase our stories and the people's stories in the community, because that's what really matters, our stories, especially at times like this. And so I feel like we've done a couple of these now. Some pods are 10 minutes, you jump on, whatever. We've been talking, but hey, I'm okay with that because I think we got things to share, and this gives us an opportunity to do that. So any final thoughts, guys?
Are you guys going to go out on your driveway and push cars to get a workout in?
Craig, you go. Are you going to push your car around?
No, I'm staying on my couch.
Oh, it's will not be pushing my car around. My workout lately has been consisting of being at home in the morning and trying to keep my kids quiet while my wife is working from home. And so with my 6.5, 4.5, and 5-month-old, and my 5-month-old loves to be held. And so you put him down, he starts crying. You just got to hold him, bounce him all day long. So, I'm going to get my arm workouts holding the 5-month-old who's up to 18 pounds now. So, I'm going to stick with that, Marlee.
Perfect.
You're getting your jug workout, right?
Yeah, so I bought some emergency water because my mom was like, you need all the things for the quarantine, and I'm okay.
You got to get toilet paper, right?
And my toilet paper, yeah, because but yeah, so I bought a jug of water just in case. And I saw all of the football players. If you haven't seen it yet, go on Twitter and just look at the Illinois football team Twitter for all of our listeners, because they're doing some crazy stuff. They're getting creative, doing whatever they can with their workouts. So I spoke to Lou Hernandez, the head strength and conditioning coach, this week, and I was like, Lou, you got to see my dumbbell. And I held up my jug of water. I think it's here. I'll show you guys too. Ugh. It's a nice little thing of spring water. It probably weighs 30 pounds, whatever it may be. So there it is. But no car pushing for me. And I don't know if you guys saw the one today. I forget who it was, but he was doing presses with the basketball hoop in his driveway.
Yeah, it's Karan Taylor.
Yeah, nuts. That's nuts.
Marlee, you can't see it, but Craig just took a big old swig of his Popeyes, so there's that.
That's where I'll be.
That's where Craig's gotten the Popeye. Hey, you're turning your back on Chick-fil-A though? Come on now.
I haven't had Chick-fil-A in a long time.
Wow, upset.
Actually, that's the one thing that's maybe been good about the quarantine is that I'm not going out to eat as much.
True.
Marlee's
been
taking
cooking at home and buying groceries and stuff. So
count Marlee and I as impressed with that, Craig.
What?
Count Marlee and I as impressed with your cooking from home.
Our shelves are stocked.
Because Craig, I know you eat out a lot, so I was like, I wonder if Craig is cooking. Maybe you'll make us something when you're gonna come out of quarantine and be a Michelin star chef.
Because there's no sports, I'm watching cooking shows and home improvement shows. So changes are happening.
Before, you never cooked and you don't own a home, so there's all these things.
Yeah, something's happening. I'm going crazy.
Oh, times are changing. It's great. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Let's do it again next week. We'll figure out if we can get this set up again with you guys on the FaceTime. They haven't seen this yet, so I'm going to send them a picture of this screenshot of this. Good stuff. All right, guys, be safe, be well. We'll talk soon here on the 3-1 Podcast.